Is your pursuit of perfection holding yourself or your business back? If you said yes to this, then this is going to be a great video for you because I'm going to share 7 ways that perfectionism is holding you back and sabotaging your performance and what specifically you can do to overcome it. So when you think about the type of people that I work with entrepreneurs, business owners, high performers. These are people typically with a very competitive background, people who are into a growth mindset and into high performance. But a lot of that drive sometimes comes from a place of needing or having to be perfect. And we actually think, and it's probably true, that this trait has actually helped us get to this point that we're at. But once you reach a certain point, this actually becomes the thing that you need to conquer and you need to overcome in order to break through to the next level. This is something that I know very well. Like growing up, I felt this need to be perfect. I felt this need to be the best possible athlete, to be the best student, to be the best sibling, the best everything. But that can actually lead to a lot of stress, a lot of overwhelm, and ultimately it leads to sabotage. And I reached this point in my business where I was trying to show up and be perfect, but that would actually prevent me from doing the things that I need to do. Because the game of entrepreneurship is a game of imperfect action. It's a game of experimentation, and it's a game of vulnerability and authenticity and not feeling the need to have all of the answers. And it's been one of the biggest things that I've learned over this past year as I've learned and grown and ultimately become the best version of myself. And I'm on the path of becoming the best version of myself. But this is something that I see impact a lot of my clients and a lot of the people that I work with. So let's get into 7 ways that perfectionism is actually sabotaging your performance. The number 1 way is with the fear of failure. Perfectionism is typically rooted in a fear of some type and a fear of failure, because if you view yourself as a perfectionist, you're not going to want to go after anything that might lead to failure, because if you fail, then you're not actually a perfectionist. Then you're not actually perfect, and other people would see your flaws, and that is like debilitating for a lot of people. It prevents you from taking the risk that you know that you need to take. It prevents you from posting that video, prevents you from reaching out to that client, prevents you from taking that next step that comes with uncertainty. And what it really results in is in you not wanting to make mistakes. And so that is like one of the main ways that I see perfectionism holding you back. Another way, the second way, is with a paralysis by analysis. This is where you want to make the perfect decision, but there's so many different paths that you could take. There's so many different options to choose from. Let me just spend a bunch of time researching all of the 5 different ways, or the 20 different ways, or the 100 different ways. Let me get a lot of research. Let me read some more books. Let me look at some podcasts. Let me learn about it. Let me reach out to some mentors. Let me find some support. Let me get some input from everybody else. But eventually this like paralysis by analysis leads to you not even making a decision, because you're always collecting more information and trying to avoid making the wrong mistake by spending a lot of time on making that decision. But again, this ultimately leads to inaction or delayed progress. So the third one is similar. It's procrastination. So you have this fear of failure as the foundation. Then you're trying to make a decision and you have all of these different options that you get paralyzed by. So how do you respond? The way that you respond is by delaying making any sort of decision. And that's where procrastination comes in. So anytime you are thinking about taking that next step, you have that fear of failure, you have all of these different options, you don't really know necessarily what is the best right option, so you just delay and you do easier things, you do things that aren't really productive to avoid you from making that big decision that you know will actually move the needle. Obviously, procrastination sucks, and it leads to this emotional buildup of shame and guilt and feeling bad about yourself. Like, why can't I just make that decision? But this is where procrastination comes in, and it makes it so much worse. So that is the third way that perfectionism is actually sabotaging your performance. The fourth is something that you think is a good thing, but it actually a lot of times leads to sabotage. And that's where you just have an overemphasis on details. You're so in the weeds that you are so focused on all the tiny little details. You want to make it perfect. You want to get it right. That again, you can't put that product out there. You can't post the video. You can't reach out to that client until everything is perfect. And this is where you are so focused on the details that you actually miss the bigger picture. And those of you that are listening to this, you might even have something right now that you're working on tweaking and refining and perfecting, and you haven't put it out yet. When if you were 80% of the way there, if you had this mindset of done is better than perfect, then it would probably already be out there and you would be moved on and working on something else. You spend so much unnecessary time refining the tiny aspects of this project or this video or whatever it is that you miss, again, the overall outcome and the bigger picture. Way number 4, just a super detailed emphasis on the tiny details. Number 5 is strained relationships. So this is where if you're a perfectionist, the standards that you have for yourself are standards that you impose upon other people. And this is where it's very common. And even like the people that you love and the people that are closest to you, you're super harsh critic of them and you're judging them constantly, because if you demand yourself to be perfect, then you expect that of everybody else. But this again is so damaging and so destructive, because when you are looking for perfection, what you're actually looking for is the flaws in other people. You're trying to build yourself up as a perfectionist by looking at and exposing the flaws in other people. I can say this because I've done this, and it's a really negative trait that I've recognized in myself, that the people that I love the most are the ones that I'm actually the most harsh of a critic of. And it turns into a really negative spiral where you're constantly judging and looking at other people to make yourself seem perfect. And the solution here is obviously to realize that perfection doesn't exist, and we're all like imperfect. And to really like accept people for the way that they are, and look to them as a gift and something that you can learn from because of the way that they are. So that's number 5. Number 6 is what I would call missed learning opportunities. This is where, kind of coming back to the earlier ones, you have that fear of failure. There's all of these different options. You're trying to find the perfect one. You're trying to make all of the right details and all the right decisions before you get started, that there's certain opportunities that if you would have jumped on them earlier, you would have gotten more money out of it. You would have learned the skill that you needed to. But a lot of times you don't actually make the decision, you procrastinate, you delay, and then you lose that opportunity to learn. So a lot of times, even if it's not the right decision, it's an opportunity to learn and to grow and to get better. And as a perfectionist, you probably don't want to put yourself in situations where you can't 100% guarantee the outcome. And ultimately, what you do is, if you can't move forward with an opportunity where the outcome is 100% guaranteed, then you're just going to miss out on any sort of learning opportunity that could come your way. And realizing that over time, if you keep missing out on these learning opportunities, then you're not actually going to get better. You're actually just going to stay stuck where you're at. And so this is where perfectionism and this overemphasis on like having these opportunities to prove that you're perfect actually over time lead you to not be as high of a performer as somebody else. And so that was number 6. Number 7 is just no matter what you do and no matter how many wins you have, you still don't feel satisfied, fulfilled, or happy. And this is actually one of the saddest parts, is even though you are successful, even though you are winning, you don't even see it. Because all you see are all of your flaws, all you see are all of the mistakes that you made, and you don't even look at your progress. This is like so like mind-boggling to me, but this is the way that your brain works. When you are focused on an outcome or a goal of being perfect. And no matter where you are and what you accomplish, the only thing that your brain is going to give you evidence for is how you're not perfect yet. And so what that means is all it's going to show you is all the things that you haven't done yet. It's going to show you all of the ways that you haven't been successful. And it's going to show you all the ways that you could have done better. And while you might think that's actually a good thing because it's going to force you to learn and to grow and to push yourself, but if you don't feel fulfilled by the process, if you're not enjoying the process and enjoying the people and the moments and the experiences that helped you get here, then you're not going to have the endurance, you're not going to have the resilience to keep going. And you're just going to miss out on the best part of the whole experience, which is the journey. And so those are the 7 ways that perfectionism might be sabotaging you. As I bring it back to you, let me recap it. Number 1 is the fear of failure. I find that this is like the foundation for a lot of it. Number 2 is just the paralysis by analysis. You're trying to make the perfect decision, looking at all the options. 3 is procrastination. 4 is your super detailed emphasis on the tiny details. 5, your strained relationships, looking at the flaws in other people. 6, you're going to miss out on all of these learning opportunities that could come your way. And then 7, you're just not going to feel fulfilled, sustained, or happy in the process. So if this is something that impacts you, I actually put together a list of perfectionism journal prompts that can help you look at where did you learn this from? Because this isn't a normal thing. But this is something that you learned at some point in your life. Typically, below the surface, there's a fear, there's a belief, and then there's an experience that happened that you made a decision and viewed the world in this way. And so what I did is I put together a journal with a series of prompts that can help you recognize where did you learn this from, how is perfectionism impacting you personally, and then a few questions of what you can ask yourself and a few exercises you can do to completely overcome this and shift from perfectionism to progress. Done is better than perfect. Some of these other mantras that I have been repeating and help you shift your mindset around it. Because if you are a high performer, business owner, entrepreneur, somebody who is in a competitive, stressful job, this perfectionism is something that probably helped you get to a certain point, but it's the exact thing that's keeping you stuck at this ceiling. It's the exact thing that's keeping you stuck in a rut, and I want to help you overcome it. So go ahead and just comment on this video or send me a DM on Instagram, or you can send me an email with the word perfect, and I'll send over the journal prompts to you, and I will see you all in the next one.